Howdy. I just finished Red Dead Redemption, and here are my thoughts. Story. You play as John Marston, former outlaw, who is forced by law enforcement to find the members of the gang he used to run with. The writing is great and versatile. One moment I laughed, the next I was furious due to some actions of some characters, and then I bawled my eyes out. The story really takes you on a roller coaster. The humor and sarcasm is absolute peak. I can imagine that those who haven't played Red Dead Redemption 2 before might have felt a bit lost as to what led to the events of Red Dead Redemption 1. Over time, it gets explained a bit, and I bet the more side missions you do, the more information you'd get. If you don't mind going backwards in gameplay, quality of life features, and graphics quality, I'd recommend playing Red Dead Redemption 2 before this one, as this is the chronological order. Visuals. I played the game on the PlayStation 5, which I assume is the remastered version. It looked way better than I expected this 15-year-old game to look like. The facial expressions are pretty good for its time, the lighting and colors are beautiful. Of course, there are some low-resolution textures, but I was prepared for those. Movements, ragdolls, and horse and other animal animations were well done too. Audio. Overall, the sound quality was great. Some noises were quite repetitive, like Rufus's barking or the hoof sounds of your horse. If you're sensitive to these kinds of things, it might get to you after a while. Sadly, as so many other games, the menu volume was absolutely obnoxious. Some other scenes were way too quiet, so the mixing could have been improved upon, in my opinion, to make it all more balanced. The music was bloody amazing, albeit copyrighted, which of course doesn't bother the average gamer. Gameplay. The writing was great and smooth. I was really impressed. The shooting felt satisfying most of the time, even if the sensitivity was often too high in my opinion, especially for the Gatling. I can imagine that this is a PlayStation issue though. The Deadeye feature was so much fun. I also really enjoyed the looting animations when John would go down to pick up items, although that can get a bit repetitive too after a while. I wasn't happy with the way they implemented covers, especially during hectic combat moments. I sometimes struggled getting John in or out of cover, and God forbid there were objects obstructing the way, like small plants or a body. Mr. Marston just wouldn't lift up his leg. What's wrong there? Oh my god. I just got stuck on the weirdest things. Enjoyment. I enjoyed my time with the game for the most part. Some sections were a bit especially in the DLC. I will get to that later. Difficulty. I didn't think the game was that difficult most of the time. Of course I died here and there, but I got through it fine. And what is a game without a challenge, right? So I'd say medium. Audience. Red Dead Redemption features violence, gore, strong language, and some nudity, with two people being naked at the same time. Yeah, so I'd say older teenagers, if not adults. Better adults. Yeah. Grind. I focused on the main story, and I don't think the story changes if you put in more time into things like challenges and side missions, but you can unlock new features, outfits, better horses, etc. So it's not necessary, but rewarding if you do. Bugs. I didn't run into any, I think, at least until I reached the DLC. Replayability. Since the story won't change, I don't think I'd replay it, but it is definitely a great experience, and I know many will love to re-experience it. Now I want to add a few words about the Undead Nightmare DLC. I like the story of it a lot. It was silly and fun. I loved the narrator in the beginning. It gave the game this 80s cheesy horror touch and reminded me a lot of the song Thriller from Michael Jackson. To me personally, some quests felt quite tedious, like picking flowers, hunting down specific zombies. The camps you could set up before to sleep, save, and fast travel with were completely removed, so you couldn't fast travel from the open world anymore. To fast travel, you had to liberate an overrun town first to get access to a bed. Even if you did so, after some time these towns would be overrun again, and if you didn't bother to come for their rescue, the town would be lost permanently, and thus your bed and travel point. So you can either repeatedly rescue towns, depending on how much time you spend with the DLC, or just say F it and let them succumb to their fate and lack of survival skills. I did the latter. Since you're fighting zombies, you have to kill them with a blow to the head. There are melee options, and even a melee finisher, which I never figured out until YouTube comments told me. Thank you very much for that, by the way. But chances are you get stun-locked and surrounded by a horde, so I stuck with guns and kept my distance. Or tried to. As I said before, I played on PlayStation 5 and the sensitivity was really awful. I just couldn't find a good balance there. I tried to lower it, but then it was too slow. The aim assist, if you can call it that, I don't know, would only snap to the chest, which again was utterly useless in this DLC. Zombie, brain, head, you know. Unless you used the best weapon the DLC had to offer, the blunderbuss. To use it, you had to craft ammo for it yourself, and it took a lot of grinding and looting to make a handful of bullets. So most of the time, I had to resort to using Deadeye for almost every single zombie. Skill issue? Maybe. I never struggled in Red Dead Redemption 2 with a controller though. I think on mouse and keyboard this DLC could have been a really nice zombie shooter. Another thing that bothered me a little was that you were forced to do side quests to progress the main story in some parts. Although I was told that might have been a bug in some parts, I don't really know. Offering side content is always nice, of course, for those who want it. Forcing players to do them and wait around, not so nice. At least those are my 2 cents. All in all, I felt the DLC was quite grindy, which is one of the things I really don't enjoy in games. I wish they would have at least kept the fast traveling in the DLC. Now, what are your guys' thoughts about Red Dead Redemption 1 and maybe even the Undead Nightmare DLC? Let me know.